おはよう、こんにちは、こんばんは。
Welcome back to JFTN, Japan Fishing Tackle News. This time, I will introduce the DAIWA Baitcasting Reel, the Saltist TW, which was released in 2023. Please note that this product review reflects the personal opinions of the JFTN staff and is not a comprehensive evaluation. We hope you view it as just one perspective among many. Also, this review introduces the feel and ease of use from the perspective of someone who is not familiar with baitcasting reels, and is aimed at those people. Thank you for your understanding. When we talk about the DAIWA Saltist on a global market model, the heavy-duty spinning reel is famous. However, in the JDM, Japanese domestic market, it was released as a baitcasting reel brand. This baitcasting reel and rod are designed specifically for saltwater fishing with braided line, also known as PE line in Japan. The brake system is specially tuned for braided line, which is why it's labeled as PE Special. The Saltist is designed to be used in various saltwater fishing situations. In 2024, new sizes were added, ranging from a bait finesse model for the line capacity of PE 0.6, 50 to 100 meters, to a larger 400 size that can spool up to 330 meters of PE 3. For this review, I'll be using the light versatile model, the 100XHL. The contents of the box are quite simple. The reel body wrapped in a non-woven fabric, and only a manual written in Japanese. This is the body of the Saltist. Overall, it features a deep navy metal color, with some parts in matte black. It feels quite sturdy, possibly thanks to the hyper-armed housing. The base of the body seems to be similar to the Tatula. The winding feel is very smooth, at least smoother than the Tatula series. When spinning it freely, it might not feel much different from the ZILLION. This is the brake dial of the Saltist. The brake dial is quite stiff, and honestly, it's a bit difficult to adjust. Turning it to increase the brake strength is manageable, but it doesn't turn easily when trying to decrease the strength. If you apply too much force, it can sometimes move 2 or 3 settings at once. The drag sound. The drag sound is appreciated. It's nice to have a drag sound even with baitcasting reels. Additionally, the handle is a round type, the same 100mm as the ZILLION TWHD, which I personally prefer. It's easy to turn and provides good leverage. The brake system is tuned specifically for braid line and uses Magforce Z. The induct rotor adjusts its speed in stages, gradually decreasing the brake strength from the beginning to the end of the cast, which helps achieve a bit more distance at the end. By the way, the spool comes with a shaft and weighed in at 15 grams when I measured it quickly. Is it slightly heavier than the Tatula TW100? The diameter is the same at 34 mm though. Now, let's compare it to the ZILLION TWHD. The body shape is slightly different, but since the handles are almost the same, they look like sibling models. The ZILLION feels a bit more straightforward. However, even though the ZILLION has a larger line capacity, it feels smaller in hand. Drag sound. The ZILLION has a louder drag sound, but the quality feels similar. Free spooling. When just spinning them, I don't notice much difference. The ZILLION is priced as a higher-end model, so it raises expectations. The clutch feels a bit stiffer compared to the ZILLION. This stiffness is reminiscent of when I used the Tatula, but there's no free play when returning the clutch, which feels good. Next, let's compare it with the Shimano SLX-DC XT, which has similar specifications and price range. The spool diameter is 33 mm, and the line capacity is quite similar. When it comes to free spooling, the SLX-DC XT feels a bit smoother. This might be due to Shimano's long experience in gear manufacturing. The Saltist has a slight noise when the gears engage, but it's not something that would be bothersome during a fishing trip. Now, let's try it out outside. First, we'll start with the Shimano Silent Assassin 99F Flash Boost, a minnow mainly designed for sea bass. The brake setting starts at 18. By the way, the maximum is 20. the casting feel isn't bad. However, since the brake is set too strong, the casting distance is limited. There's no noticeable spool noise during the cast either. The retrieve is smooth and feels nice. The handle is long, so for those used to shorter handles, it might feel a bit awkward, but personally, I like this type. I lowered the brake to 14.
14
There's still room to adjust. However, at this level of brake strength, it doesn't yet feel like it's specifically tuned for braid line. Next, I set the brake to 12. Wow, the casting distance increased. The line stayed stable, and it was possible to cast smoothly. Let's keep going, brake set to 10. It still feels good. Brake set to 9. Still no issues. Brake set to 8.
8
The spool noise has become more noticeable, and the casting distance has significantly increased. The line isn't lifting off yet, but the spool's rotation has sped up, giving a sensation of the lure shooting out at the start of the cast. I feel like 8 might be the best balance between distance and avoiding trouble for me. The rod I'm using this time is the one from Fishman, known for its high-quality bait rod maker, Brist 5.10 MXH. Its shorter length makes it easy to handle, making it an ideal model for fishing from boats or kayaks. The rod has a strong butt while the tip is flexible, and with a casting weight range of 7 to 54 grams, it's a very versatile rod. The next lure is the Whiplash Factory Flutterin'Wire 7.5 FP. We've used it several times in our videos. It's a high-appeal top water lure. I'm keeping the brake setting at 8. It feels good and casts really well. I really like this long handle, it allows for smooth reeling. I'll take a little adventure and set the brake to 7. This brake dial is quite stiff. It's hard to get a grip with my fingers or nails, and sometimes it doesn't adjust to where I want it. Oh, this works. I can cast without trouble so far. Let's see how far we can push it. Let's drop it further to 6. Oh, it seems like it's working? It cast without issues. Oh no, backlashed. As expected, for someone like me who is not very used to bait casting, this brake setting seems tough. If I can cast without problems every time, that's good, but it looks like it can cause trouble if my form slips a bit. After trying various settings, I also experienced backlash at 7 occasionally. In the end, since the distance didn't change that much, I decided to keep the brake at 8 as my baseline. Next up is a metal jig with a 30-gram blade. Oh, it casts well. The brake set at 8 seems fine. I can throw it without any stress. Just to digress a bit from the reel, the capacity of this rod is impressive. Honestly, casting the lower limit of 7 grams requires some care. But throwing something around 10 grams is no problem at all, and I can easily cast 30 grams as well. Next is the Yadu Products Rain, a 14-gram metal vibration lure. Being metal, it casts quite well. To be honest, with my skill level, I wouldn't feel comfortable using the Saltist for surf fishing. However, in situations like rivers or where casting distance isn't a major concern, this reel seems more than capable. That said, overall, I don't think it's exceptionally sensitive. This might be due to the increased retrieval torque from the long handle. Next is a jointed lure, the Palms Jabami Lipless 175F, a 50-gram swim minnow. One of the strengths of this Brist MXH is its ability to cast lures ranging from the 10-gram range up to this 2-ounce level. It seems quite user-friendly. This is just a beginner's perspective on bait casting, but I find that setting the brake about 2 levels higher than what feels borderline allows for a smoother experience without worrying too much about problems. Joint lures have a lot of air resistance, so they generally don't cast as far, but even so, being able to cast this well means there should be plenty of fun to be had. Yup, more distance than I expected. The weight balance of the Jabami seems good, and it feels like the spool is rotating at just the right speed, with the brake working nicely as well. Since I'm using braid line, the spool weight should be light, but from what I've experienced so far, it seems easier to cast lures that are on the heavier side rather than the lightweight ones. With lighter lures, if I make a small mistake, the spool tends to rotate too fast relative to the lure's speed early in the cast, leading to backlash. In contrast, it seems like heavier lures keep the spool rotation speed better matched to the lure's flying speed. At least with this 100 model, I feel that it's better suited for throwing lures that weigh around 14 to 5 grams or more, especially for sea bass fishing or trevalling. Next, I'll use the ZILLION for a comparison. The lure is the previously mentioned Whiplash factory Flutterin'Wire 75 FP. Ah, yes. The feeling of security with the ZILLION is incredible. This model features Mag-Z Boost, which has an induct rotor that is even more adjustable. The position of the induct rotor changes during the latter part of the cast, further reducing the brake, which helps achieve greater distance at the end of the cast. In fact, the ZILLION TWHD is my absolute favorite among all baitcasting reels I've used so far. It has a fantastic winding feel, is lightweight, and hardly causes any issues. Personally, I think the standard ZILLION or this ZILLION HD is the best recommendation for those who are not yet comfortable with baitcasting reels. Next, I'll use a swim minnow. Yep, there are absolutely no issues with heavier lures. I had no problem using the Saltist with the brake slightly stronger, and it felt great, but there is definitely a noticeable price difference compared to the ZILLION. The ZILLION spool is shaftless, which clearly makes a difference compared to those with a shaft. This contributes to the spool's lightweight, which likely leads to quicker responses and allows for more delicate control of the brakes. The noise during casting is also significantly reduced, which suggests there is less resistance against the spool's rotation. Now, let's compare it with the Shimano SLX DCXT. The lure we'll use is also the Whiplash factory Flutterin'Wire 75 FP. First off, aside from the feel of use, the DC sound is just great. It gives a special feeling like you're using high-tech equipment. The trouble-free performance is still impressive, and there's no sense of potential line troubles. However, when using braid line, I wish the DC brake could be adjusted a bit more finely. Personally, I would like an option between settings 1 and 2. Next, let's use Swim Minnow, the Palm's Jabami. It casts really well, and I think the SLX gives the best distance. It seems like the DC brake and MGL Spool 3 are doing a great job together. The spool rotation is probably the lightest here. However, I personally miss having a drag sound. There have been times when I thought I was reeling in, but the line was actually being pulled out. The winding feel is indeed very good and smooth, but because the handle is the shortest, the winding torque might be the weakest. It's a slight difference, and adding a custom handle might even it out. Comparing it to the Saltist, it's almost the same as comparing the SVS brake, where this one features an automatic brake system, while the Saltist has a manual brake that can be fine-tuned to personal preference. This one might be better for beginners or those who aren't used to bait casting, while the Saltist may suit intermediate and advanced users better. In terms of casting feel, this one might have less noise. I don't really notice any other performance differences. Conclusion: DAIWA Saltist 2023 is well-balanced great reel for experienced users. The DAIWA Saltist 2023 is essentially a good reel that justifies its price. The Magforce Z braking system feels just like it always has, and the winding performance is excellent. The long handle, especially, allows for solid winding and strong currents, making it suitable for saltwater lure fishing. However, the manual feel is strong, which allows experienced users to fine-tune their brake settings for consistent casts. It also offers better spool rotation performance and fewer troubles compared to the Tatula, making it a cost-effective model. Personally, I use it with the brake set to 8 or 9, but I've seen others using it at settings of 6 or 5. That said, I feel it might take some time for those who don't often use baitcasting tackle to get used to it. For those looking to improve their baitcasting skills and practice diligently, it's a highly recommendable reel. However, if someone just wants to try baitcasting without many troubles, I'd recommend stepping up to the ZILLION or a DC-controlled reel like the SLX DC-XT. I believe fishing should be an enjoyable hobby, and gear should enhance that enjoyment. Therefore, starting with a reel that features an automatic braking system could be a good way to ease into baitcasting. Once they experience the fun and benefits of baitcasting, moving on to more manual adjustable reels like the SVS or the Saltist could be a natural progression. In that sense, for those looking for an easy and straightforward way to enjoy a baitcasting reel, the Saltist may not be the best recommendation. Overall, it strikes a balance between being easier to use than the Tatula but not quite reaching the performance level of the ZILLION, which perfectly fits within this price range. Although it's labeled as a braid line specific setup, I didn't particularly feel that it had advantages unique to that designation. This could be because I typically spool all my baitcasting reels with braid line. Thank you for watching this video. If you enjoyed it, we would really appreciate it if you could give it a like and subscribe to our channel. We hope our channel can help make your fishing experience a little better. As a token of appreciation for your continued support, including for our online shop, we are planning a special campaign towards the end of the year. I'll announce the details of the campaign on this channel as we get closer, so please stay tuned. Thank you for watching.